Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and in this tutorial we will learn how to crochet a round basket using this beautiful pattern and how to make handles for your basket. For that I will use a 7-9mm t-shirt yarn, a 7mm hook, a needle with a big eye and 4 stitch markers. You can crochet any size of such basket you want, and you can use any type of the yarn and any size of a hook. But you should remember that using a different yarn and a hook, you will get a different size of the basket in the end than mine. So now get ready and let's start. So first we need to crochet a circle that will be the base of the future basket. I already have a video about how to crochet a perfect circle on my channel, so I've decided not to spend time for that now again. So if you don't know how to crochet a circle, please follow my video. Crochet your circle, don't join the last row of the circle, don't cut the yarn, and do the wet heat treatment for your circle to make its shape completely flat. And after that, come back to this video and we will start to crochet the walls of the basket. And you can make any size of the circle you want, depending on the size of the basket that you want to get in the end. So you have finished your circle, and now we will join the last row here and start crocheting the walls of the basket at the same time. First, make the loop on the hook a little bigger. Slip the hook under the first stitch of this row from the back side. Hook the loop and bring it to the back side. Now we will insert the hook into the same loop that we just brought to the back side. Here's our loop. So we insert the hook again into this loop, but here. Then we will insert the hook in the middle of the single crochet under this loop, under the loop, this single crochet. So we will insert the hook in the middle of this single crochet between these two strands of the yarn. And from the back side, it comes also from the middle of this single crochet between these two strands of the yarn. Then hook the working yarn and take a loop. Now we have 2 loops on the hook. Change the position of your hook. Insert it from the front side, like this. And now push this loop through this one. So this is how we've joined the last row of the circle and made the first stitch of the walls of the basket. And now we will crochet the first row of the walls. For that we insert the hook in the middle of each stitch around the circle, like this, and also under these bumps on the back side of the circle. Then hook the working yarn, take a loop, hook the working yarn and push it through both loops on the hook. So we make a single crochet, inserting the hook under these two loops, this bump and in the middle of this stitch, under the back loop of the stitch. Let's do that again into the next stitch, under the bump, and just a normal single crochet. Again into the next stitch, under the bump, so continue crocheting this way all the way around the circle. And I'm making my last stitch in the first row. And now we will join this row, and from the second row we will start crocheting the pattern. So first make the loop on the hook a little bigger, then insert the hook under the first stitch of the row from the back side, hook the loop and bring it to the back side. Now I will show you how we will insert the hook, making every next stitch. So now we made single crochet. Every single crochet looks like V, B, B. So we will insert the hook under the left loop of this V. So here's our V. We insert the hook under the left loop of the V and under the next stitch after this V. So under the left loop of the V and under this stitch. So making all next stitches, we will insert the hook this way. And the first stitch we will make under the loop here. So we take this V and insert the hook under the left loop of the V. And then under the stitch, the next stitch after this V, after this loop, left loop. Then hook the working yarn and take a loop. We still have this loop. Insert the hook into both loops. Hook the working yarn and push it through both loops on the hook. So this is how we will join all next rows of the walls. And to make the next stitch, we insert the hook the same way. We find next V, it's this one, next V. So we insert the hook under the left loop of this V, and under the next stitch after this V. Hook the working yarn, take a loop, hook the working yarn and push it through both loops on the hook. Then we find next V, it's this one. And again we will insert the hook under the left loop of the V and next stitch after this V. Next one, again under the left loop of the V, under the next stitch, next one, and continue crocheting this row the same way until you come to the beginning. The last stitch of this row. So we have finished the second row, and now we will join it the same way as we did it in the first one. So we make the loop on the hook bigger, then insert the hook under the first stitch of the row from the back side, hook the loop and bring it to the back side, now we will insert the hook under the left loop of the V that is under this loop, so this V, and we insert the hook under the left loop of this V. And under the next stitch, then hook the working yarn and take a loop. Insert the hook into the first loop, this one, so you would have 2 loops on the hook. Hook the working yarn and push it through both loops on the hook. And we've joined the second row and made the first stitch of the third row. The third row we will crochet completely the same way. So we insert the hook under the left loop of next V, under the next stitch, hook the working yarn, take a loop, hook the working yarn and push it through both loops on the hook. And again the same. So now crochet as many rows as you want in your basket the same way, and then we will crochet handles for our basket. So I've crocheted 9 rows in the walls of my basket, and from the next row I will start crocheting the handles of the basket. As you can see, I've already placed 4 stitch markers on the walls to mark those places, those distances where I will make the handles. I've chosen 10 stitches here and 10 stitches here as the size of the future handles, and I tried to place them right in front of each other. You can take any amount of stitches for your handles depending on its size that you want to get in the end. So the last row I've joined the same way as we did before in all other rows, and now we will start crocheting the next row until we get the first stitch marker. And the last stitch we make under that stitch where we have the first stitch marker. And now we start crocheting the first handle. As you remember, I took here 10 stitches for my handle. So now I'm gonna make 11 chain stitches. To make a chain stitch, hook the working yarn and push it through the loop on the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And don't make these stitches too tight. Try to make them the same size as these. And by the way, you can make more chain stitches if you want to get a longer handle. So now we will join our chain to that stitch where we have the next stitch marker. And to make this joining, we will use the same stitch that we used to crochet the walls of the basket, just normal rows of the walls. So first, we insert the hook under the left loop of the V, as we did it before, and then under the stitch where we have a stitch marker. And we have joined the chain to the basket. And now we continue crocheting the row the same as before until we get the next stitch marker. So after we came to the next stitch marker, we make the same chain as we made here, the same length. So in my case, I should make 11 chain stitches. One, and again we join it into the stitch where we have the last stitch marker, and we join it the same way, making the same stitch as we use for crocheting the rows of the walls. So this is the left loop of the V, and under the stitch for the stitch marker. And now finish the row just in a normal way. And we join this row the same way as we did it before. So this is what we got for now. And start crocheting the new row until you get the handle, the beginning of the first handle. So the next V is the last one. And from now, a very important thing for us, to keep the working yarn always wrong side up. So not like this, but like this, while we are crocheting the handles. So now we insert the hook into the last V, then under the chain. Then we keep the working yarn wrong side up, hook the working yarn, and make a stitch, the same stitch as we made before. Always check how you keep the working yarn. And now we insert the hook in this big hole under the chain, hook the working yarn, take a loop, so now we have 2 loops on the hook, hook the working yarn and push it through both loops on the hook. So keeping the working yarn wrong side up helps us to get right side up stitches here. Now again, so that's how we will crochet the handles of the basket. Make as many stitches here as it needs to cover all the handle until the end. So this is how your handle looks like now. And now we continue crocheting this row the same way as before. We start from this first V after the handle, and we continue crocheting this row until we come to the second handle. The second handle we will make completely the same way as the first one, doing all the same steps. So we came to the second handle, and we crochet the same way. And now finish this row. Join the row the same way as we did it before. And only one row left. So the next row, the last one, we will crochet the same way as we crocheted this one. So first we just crochet the row in a normal way, as always, until we come to the handle. And last 2 stitches. So we came to the first handle, and now we will make the same stitches as we made in the previous row, holding the working yarn the wrong side up. And again, it's not important how many stitches you will make here on the handle. The main thing to cover the whole handle with these stitches and to make the stitches close to each other. So I have finished this handle, came to the end of it, and now I will continue crocheting this row as always. Now finish this row by yourself, do the same with the second handle, and we will meet in the end of the row. We will join this row in a different way and we will crochet the border along the entire edge of the basket. So I have finished the last row. Now our basket has such nice handles. And the last step is to make the border along the entire edge of the basket. So this last row we will not join the same way as we did before. We just insert the hook under the first stitch of the row, hook the working yarn, take a loop and push this loop through this one. And we will do the same with all stitches along the edge of the basket. So under the next stitch, hook the working yarn, take a loop and push this loop through this one. Under the next one. So we are getting such a border. We do the same with the handles. And the last stitch of the border. This was our first stitch of the border, and we have finished the border right before the first stitch. Now to finish our crochet, leave a little tip and cut the yarn. Pull out the tip, and to finish the border we need to make one more stitch here, and I will do that using a needle with a big eye. To make the last stitch, we insert the needle under the first stitch of the border. It's this one, this one, and now we need to bring the tip back to the same stitch where it comes from. So here's our tip, this one, and it comes from here, from this stitch. So now we need to insert the needle into the same stitch, into this stitch, and also into the last stitch of the last row of the walls. It's this one. So this was our first stitch of the border, and the stitch before this one is the last stitch of the last row of the walls. So we also insert the needle into this stitch. I hope it's clear. So we've made the last stitch of the border. It looks the same as all other stitches, but from the top you can notice that this place doesn't look the same as everywhere else. We need to make here also one more stitch. For that, we insert the needle under the first stitch of the last row of the walls. It's this one. And now we also bring the tip back into the same stitch where it comes from now. So here's the tip, and it comes from this stitch. So we bring the tip back to the same stitch. Now here it looks exactly the same as the entire edge of the basket. Now let's push the tip under the stitches from the back side, from inside the basket, in different directions to finish our crochet. And then cut the rest of the yarn. Our basket is ready. And about the size of the basket I've just made. I'll remind you that I used 7 9mm t-shirt yarn and a 7mm hook. In my circle base I've made 12 rows and its size is around 25.5 centimeters. In the walls of my basket I've made 12 rows too, and its height is 14 centimeters. And to crochet this basket I've used more than 1.5 bobbins of the t-shirt yarn, and that's I think around 150 meters or little more. So now you know how to crochet such a beautiful pattern and how to make handles for your basket. You can make such handles for a basket of any shape, size and pattern. And I also advise you to do the wet heat treatment for the walls of the basket. I hope you like this tutorial. If yes, please leave your thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell not to miss my next tutorials. Thank you for watching and see you soon!